Okay, so hello, this is our last lesson on the unit equations and inequalities, and we're looking at solving formula equations with letters. So this part of the unit, this is really important, especially when we're working with formulas. For example, when we're going to start looking at like area formulas and volume formulas, surface area formulas, and sometimes you may be given part of the equation and you have to solve for another part. So for example, this example here, y equals mx plus b, this is a very important formula here. It's a formula for a line, a straight line graph. So this is an important one that you'll learn about. And in this example, we need to solve for the letter m. M is here. And right now the equation is solving for y. It's y equals mx plus b, but we need to rearrange this formula to solve for m. So when we're solving an equation with letters only, or there's a mixture of letters and numbers, we're going to use the same procedures that we have used before. Brackets come first, then any addition and subtraction, and lastly would be any multiplication and division. So let's take a look at our first example here. All right, so we are trying to isolate the m, and that basically means we want m by itself on one side of the equation. So let's subtract the b over here. Okay, that will leave us with y minus b on the left side is equal to mx. All right, mx here, it means it's m multiplied by x. So we are going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, to isolate m. So we're going to divide by x on both sides. And that will leave me with y minus b over x is equal to m. All right, which is the same thing if we wrote it this way, m is equal to y minus b over x. All right, so now we have solved for m by isolating m on one side of the equation. All right, so let's take a look at our next example. So we have 4, then in brackets 2x plus y is equal to 3, and then in brackets we have 5a plus 2b. So notice how many variables here we have. We have an x, a y, a, and b. So we have 4 variables in this equation, and we need to rearrange this formula to just solve for x. So our first step here will be to get rid of the brackets. So we're going to multiply the 4 to everything inside this bracket. So 4 times 2x gives me 8x, and 4 times the y gives me 4y. But remember, it's a plus 4y. All right, that equals 2. We're going to multiply the 3 to the 5a, which is 15a. 3 times 5a is 15a. And then plus 3 times 2b, which gives me 6b. All right, so now notice where x is because we're solving for x. X is on the left-hand side. So we have 8x plus 4y. So our first thing here would be to subtract the 4y. So subtract 4y on both sides of the equation. And there's no other y here, so we can't collect any like terms. So we're left with 8x is equal to 15a plus 6b minus 4y. And our last step here, it's 8 times x, so we would have to divide by 8. Divide by 8 on both sides of the equation. Okay, and that now leaves me with x is equal to 15a plus 6b minus 4y, and all of that is divided by 8. All right, so here we have a common formula here is for circumference, and in this equation, we have to solve for d, which is the diameter. All right, so all we have to do is divide by pi on both sides. All right, so the pi will cancel out, and we're left with just diameter on the right-hand side. So c over pi is equal to d is how we see that. But we can also write it as d is equal to c over pi like that. All right, so diameter would be equal to circumference divided by pi. You will have the pi button in your calculators. If not, you would just use 3.14 for pi. All right, so here with I equals PRT, we need to isolate the R. So that means, well, first of all, it's P times R times T. So what we can do here is just divide by PT on both sides. That will cancel out the P and that will cancel out the T, and we're just left with the R. So I is equal to P over T is equal to R, right? And it's the same thing as just writing it with R on the right side, or sorry, on the left side. R is equal to I divided by PT. All right, so for this one here, 5x minus b equals 2x plus d, we need to isolate the x. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll subtract the 2x, and we can collect that here with the 5x here, subtract it on both sides. And that will leave me with 3x minus b is equal to d. So next what I'll do is I'll add the b over to both sides. And now I'm left with 3x is equal to d plus b. All right, so I still have this 3 next to the x. So it's 3 multiplied by x. So I do have to divide by 3 for my last step. And that now leaves me with x is equal to d plus b divided by 3. Okay, so 180 minus a minus b is equal to c, and we're solving for a. So what I'm going to do for this one is, to isolate a, I'm just going to take positive a to both sides, like this. So we're left with 180 minus b equals c plus a, and then I'm just going to subtract the c, like so. And then I'm left with a on the right-hand side, and that leaves me with 180 minus b minus c. All right, so that's a equals to 180 minus b minus c. If I write that out. Okay, that would be the equation when solving it for a. So I'm just going to show the same question if you left a on the left side. So let's start with by adding the b to both sides. That will get rid of that. So we have 180 minus a is equal to c plus b. Next, I would have to subtract the 180 because it's 180 positive 180 minus a. So I'm subtracting 180 on both sides. That's leaving me with negative a is equal to negative 180 plus c plus b. But I'm left with negative a. So you have to divide the negative 1 and then divide by negative 1. Okay, and that will leave me with a is equal to negative 180 divided by negative 1. That will give me a positive 180. And then a positive c divided by negative 1 will give me a negative c, and same thing with the b divided by negative 1 will give me a negative. So I'm just going to rewrite that out. So it would be a minus b minus c. All right, so here we have v is equal to pi r squared h. Like I said, that is the formula for the volume of a cylinder. So we need to solve for h here, and it's all being multiplied. It's pi r squared h, so it's pi times r squared times h. So to isolate h, we just have to divide by pi r squared on both sides. All right, so that leaves me, pi r squared is canceled on the right side and leaves me with just h. So h is equal to v divided by pi r squared. The homework today, it is 2.7 odds.